everyone. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Second Sunday. We're so happy to see you all. Today we have Devil's Dozen Donuts as we continue our tour throughout San Diego County's finest donuts. This is the third brand and the third of many. So we're just so glad that you're here, and we're going to start off with some worship.
Sweet to my soul, and I'm swept away. I am good, you say I'm good. I am worthy, wanted, loved by you. This is living, breathing truth. Speaking with kindness, brimming with gentleness, and he heals to the bone. He speaks straight to the soul, and I'm swept away. I am good, you say I'm good. This is living, breathing proof that I am chosen, wanted, loved by you. I'm undone with love for you, and within all the joy and throughout all the waiting, I'm undone with love for you. And I could never forget the spirit that changed me. I'm undone with love for you. I'm undone with love for you. Our Father, light running through your veins, warm and devoted, tenderness filled with strength, and you're healed to the bone. You speak life to the soul, and I'm swept away. And I'm swept away. 'Cause I am good, you say I'm good. I am worthy, wanted, loved by you. This is living, breathing proof that I am chosen, wanted, loved by you. I am good, you say I'm good. I am worthy, wanted, loved
Okay, so I do have some announcements. Real quick, you guys, and especially for you onliners, there's still about, I don't know, we usually pick up around 31 views a week, and if you're a household, get your butt in here. We want you here, and would love to just have donuts and coffee with you. Some of you can't, I understand, but if you're afraid, we have Clorox wipes, and we're literally wiping everything, including people. As they walk in, we wipe them down. And then we're also getting here fairly early, so if you'd like to come and pray with us at 8:30, we're walking around, drinking coffee, praying around the neighborhood. We'd love to have you join us for that. If you'd like to give to Second Sunday, text Second Sunday to 77977 and participate with us in that form of worship. And that's kind of all the announcements we have, other than if you want to be part of our core team, we are going to do a core team meeting on the 21st. It's the Sunday before Thanksgiving, and it will only be 45 minutes long. It'll be right after our Sunday gathering, and it'll be 45 minutes, so we'll take you to about 11:45. No problem, Bob. You can do that. And then you can go to lunch somewhere down here because there's so many cool places to eat lunch down here. That's it. Hope you're well. Thanks, guys, for being here this morning. We would love to just, if there's anything you guys are carrying that feels heavy, we'd love to pray with you afterwards. So if you like prayer, just come up to the front, and either Dan or Sally or Bonnie or Ing or myself will pray with you. We'd love to do that. Mike, Jules, anybody. Free for all. Just find somebody, they'll pray for you, because we believe in prayer. Speaking of which, we do a 6 a.m. prayer gathering every morning, and we've been doing it actually all of COVID because we weren't able to meet. It just felt like a cool connection point. And for some reason, a year and 8 months into our morning prayer thing, we've got more people than ever. It's kind of fun. It dwindled, and now we've got people in Scotland, Josh in Scotland, Will, who's in Minnesota, joins us. We have Amanda in Texas with her children. They join us. It's just kind of fun. So if you want to do that, the link is in our bio on our Instagram page. We have a link tree there. You just click on the link and join us at 6 a.m. So I felt like I needed to just speak about this. Like, this is going to be kind of a meta message because we're going to talk about what we're doing right now. I have to do that. I can't sit in a room for very long before I'm like, I feel your question. What are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? And I'm going to address this message particularly to my kids, because I think my kids are wondering, Dad, what are you doing? Why did you leave a perfectly good job? And why are you doing something so hard that people keep leaving, and that people don't seem to be picking up? Why are you doing this? And I obviously, I don't want to just talk about why I'm doing this. I want to put this in a way that it makes sense to you and is applicable to your life, because I think each and every one of you have a long, hard, good work you're doing. Why should you stick with it? What is that long, difficult, but good work that you're doing? And why should you stick with it? Actually, I want to put it in the form of 3 questions. I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. As we go forward, we'll get to those questions. But if you don't know the history of Second Sunday, we started 2 weeks ago, 4 years ago. I had a minor stroke. Sorry, folks. We had too much coffee. We had a warehouse just 2 blocks that way, and it was going swimmingly. But then we received complaints about making too much noise, because part of us was meeting in the mornings. We had a full gospel church. Archie Robinson was the pastor. They were warming it up in the mornings, and then we'd be there at 5 p.m. warming it up again. And, you know, you go into the street in East Village and the cacophony is 78 decibels, right? We were pushing it to like 83. But the neighbors were fairly powerful and they were not happy. So it went straight to the city councilman and we got shut down. We lost a space that was, for us, a really cool meeting place. And some of you here, we met there. So we were bummed about that. But we picked up where we left off. We found ourselves at Studio 710. We met Jeffrey. Jeffrey is this crazy creative savant. And he's also the Energizer Bunny. If you've ever seen Jeffrey, he just doesn't stop moving. And he was there to kind of catch us as we were falling. And we found ourselves at Studio 710, trip out on this. I think it was 8 months before COVID hit. So we were cruising at 710 and things were going well, and they were like, we're outgrowing 710. We need to go to this place J11. So we moved in here, and some people didn't like that, so they stopped coming, and we were small again, and we were starting to try to build back up, and we were stopped in our tracks by something called COVID. And what's so cool to me is that as we were moving into COVID, we were like, what are we going to do? Every church I know of is going online. How are we going to do that? We have zero infrastructure to do that. And then we were like, Jeffrey, he owns a studio that uses state-of-the-art equipment. And so we called Jeffrey and we say, hey, dude, we don't have a lot of money. Are you cool with us doing this? So what would normally cost $3,600 for a 4-hour period, we got for $500. This guy threw us a huge bone, and we were able to stay connected with people over the airwaves. It was really kind of cool. You see, it's all been hard, but it's all been good. See, there is good hard, and there is bad hard. I want to just break that down for you. Bad difficult comes from a weak why. What do I mean? What is the why? What is the manifest behind what you're doing? I love The Office. I don't know, has anybody watched The Office still? It's just kind of where my son and I find, especially Ethan, finds a great sense of solace in Michael Scott. He's now looking up. Michael Scott, at the beginning, it's very clear that Michael Scott just doesn't have a very good why. He just wants people to like him. It's pretty clear. But then you fast forward in the series, and Jim and Pam get married, and it's a really cool moment because you see on Michael Scott, and it's partially just the brilliance of Steve Carell. He's a brilliant actor, really is. But he's enjoying himself. He's enjoying Jim and Pam. He loves them. Like all along, he loved the people he was with. So it seemed like a weak why at the beginning, but all along, he loved them. That's a big why. Why are we doing this? Love. A good difficult has kind of come out of this for us. The church has been plagued with more than a few setbacks, but there's been so many pictures of reconciliation that we've seen along the way. For instance, meeting Jeffrey. We said goodbye to friends who have gone across the world, but they're joining us, and they're still giving, and they're still supporting, and they're seeing things happen in the places where they've landed. It was really cool to have Rory and Wendy here 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and dedicating Chloe for them. That was just such an incredible time. See, there is the scent of a big why. And what is that big why for us? Well, yeah, it's love, but more specifically, it's reconciliation. The reason why I get up in the morning and do this is because I have a sense that if we keep doing things the way we've been doing it, we're missing out on a huge opportunity. If we keep doing things the way church has been done in the past, we're going to miss out on, to be honest, 85% of the population. San Diego sees about 15% of the people kind of inhabiting and rehearsing the story that we rehearse every weekend on a given Sunday. And we're just not compelled by that. We're compelled by this community that is totally going about their business right now. We're compelled by people who are, they're going to go out to brunch today, and they might get a little liquored up. And you know what? It's going to take away the sorrow for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. But then they'll come back to the sorrow. The sorrow will get stirred up again when they look in the mirror and they wonder, what am I doing with my life? And so that existential angst that every French philosopher has ever written about, that existential angst which we feel wrought throughout the human experience, it doesn't give up on you. It's there every moment. And for me, as a Christ follower, I have to remind that existential angst, that sense of a vacuum, that sense that there is no purpose in life, and that I am just a dot, a blip on this never-ending, chaotic outworking of nature. I actually speak to that. And I say, wait a second. Even if you look at it cosmologically, we dwell in such an insane balance that it's hard to say this is just happenstance. And then you pan in a little bit and you say, wait, what if that intentionality that we see in the cosmos is at a biological level for us? Like, you know, there's this thing called irreducible complexity, where you can't get certain things without certain steps, and those certain steps have to be intended. And I don't have time to explain it right now, but it goes down to like the flagellum of a cell. It just can't happen because it has to be intended. And so there's this sense in which I have to remind myself every day, whoa, if there's intention behind this thing, then there's consciousness. And if there's consciousness, then there's personality. And if there's personality, maybe there's love. Maybe the one behind all of this is love. And that when I look in the mirror, I don't have to despair. In fact, that game that I play every day, there's two games humans play: to be significant and to be secure. Right now, you guys are wondering, am I safe? Do I have enough money? And am I secure? And am I significant? Do I have enough follows on Instagram? Were there enough likes on that picture I posted yesterday? Am I significant? Am I safe? It was interesting. I was driving here this morning, and God brought to my attention, sometimes I let this be my measure of significance. And he said, when are you going to let that up? When are you going to let go of that? This isn't your measure. What I say about you is your measure of how significant you are. It's also the measure of how safe you are. Like, that's why you've seen people who follow close to God historically, they'll do crazy things. They really will. Because they have a sense in which their safety is not in their control mechanisms. There's a sense in which they go into relationships with their vitals wide open. They're the big hug people. You know, not a lot of people go into relationships like this. But have you met the people who come in like this? And it's like they're okay with you hurting them because they know their significance doesn't come from you. It comes from somewhere else. I agree. Don't even stop that. You're fine. Don't even, he's given witness. I just want to say bad hard comes from a weak why. Oh yeah, go back. This is our this is our picture of Sunday 6 a.m. prayer. Yeah, I know. We look pretty haggard. I'm all swollen and my hair is not good. So, but my significance is not in that picture, so you guys can kiss me. Bad hard comes from a weak why. Let me give you a quick example of a weak why. In 2011, many countries in a developing country were importing their food because they couldn't subsist on what was around them. Huge companies were buying up the land that they could use for cash crops so that the indigenous people could not literally plant a crop that they could feed their children. So these people were subsisting on rice and roots. The companies buying up those lands, what's the bottom line? Kwan. cash. It's a weak why. It destroys things. Money is a weak why. And it's funny. I look over here and I always glance to Dylan because he's usually doing something weird with his hands. Just kidding. But he left a lot of cash, and I love that. He left a situation that would have set him up for life, and he left because he felt like there was more. And I think he was looking for a bigger why. And what you're doing now is so fun. And you too, Jess. What you're doing with your life, it's a big why. You're helping people get mentally well. You're helping their relationships thrive. Here's a strong why. I love this example. Southwest Airlines back in the 70s, they were not the first discount airline. They were just the first discount airline with a big why. They wanted to democratize air travel, make it accessible to common people. They were considering the lives of the 85% of the population, while other airlines were concerned with 15%. When asked who their competition was, Southwest didn't say other airlines. They said cars, buses. That's because Herb Kelleher and Roland King were thinking about human thriving, not happy shareholders. It's okay to keep shareholders happy, I guess, but what's the bigger why? Are people going to thrive as a result? You see, back in the 70s, when you went on an airplane, you dressed to the nines. You had to wear a tie. It was for the elite. And these days, it's for all of us. I schlepped myself onto an airplane like the rest of you. I mean, it is awesome because now we can get around and we're more connected than ever. What a cool vision. That's a great picture of a why. Okay, let me say this. A bad why is small. A good why is expansive. A bad why leads to claustrophobic realities. A good why leads to expansive realities. So the first question to ask yourself when you are wondering whether you should stick with this long, difficult, good work is this. Does it have a big why? Does it have a big why? And I feel like this thing does. As hard as this freaking church has been, it's got a big flippin' why. So I can't deny that. I know we've suffered, but it's awesome. Let me read this passage of Scripture for you, 2 Corinthians. This is our kind of central Scripture for what we're doing. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone. The new is here. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That God reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them, and he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. Reconciliation is why we're doing what we're doing. Reconciliation to God, which results in reconciliation to self, which results in reconciliation to others, and trip out on this, it even results in reconciliation to nature. That's why I'm so baffled how the church has been remiss when it comes to helping nature heal. What are we thinking? If you look biblically at nature, it's clear what we are. We're stewards. We're here to take care of this thing, to help it thrive. And so we're watching a show on burgers, right? Like what it costs, what it means environmentally for you to eat a burger. And Dave Chang's got a new show on Netflix. It's actually fabulous. But they interview this guy who's he used to be a huge cattle farmer, right? He was the guy with all the cattle, and there were mono-species kinds of situations. Like by mono-species, it was just cows. There wasn't the chickens, and there wasn't just the balance of a farm, right? What a farm used to be was just this amazingly beautiful biodiversity that resulted in balance. And so him and his kids said, let's make it that again. And it's so cool. The meat costs so much, but the cows are wandering. In fact, they're frolicking. And it's such a beautiful picture of what it means. Reconciliation means at a very practical level. That's reconciliation. So, like when we were here at the warehouse, and I know I love this story, and I know I tell it all the time. I just think it's such a beautiful picture of reconciliation. There was a conference going on, and I was sitting in the coffee shop working, and Justin was doing multiple things at once, and this guy wanted to buy one of our T-shirts because we used to sell Second Sunday T-shirts in the warehouse. And he was a Japanese fella, broken English. He was in town just for this conference. And I'm like, I'm trying to speak to him through the broken English, and he was doing his darndest, and it was an awesome conversation. And he had no idea he was buying a church's T-shirt, but whatever. He just unsolicited said, "I feel peace here." And I'm like, okay, cool. That's reconciliation. See, that's reconciliation to a reality for which you were created. You were created for peace. You were not created for anxiety. Anxiety happens when God ceases to be at the center of your life, right? When you're trying to be God and manage all these spinning plates, and you're like, shoot, I'm anxious. I wonder why. And so you're drinking caffeine so you can manage all those things. And then you wonder why you're more stressed. This is reconciliation. This is a big why. Despite all this good stuff, we have seen attrition. I think the attrition can be explained primarily by a deviation from what common churchgoers expect from church. Common church going questions are kind of like this. Do I feel comfortable with the people here? This basically means, are there people like me here? That's not a bad question. Okay? It is good to be around like-minded people. But if you want to see a really dynamic company, you will find a diversity of people. It's because thesis, antithesis, synthesis. My wife is an antithesis to my thesis. I am an antithesis to her thesis, right? And so there's a synthesis. Our kids are one of those synthesises. But ideationally, this is true. Now, it has been the hardest thing for me when I was a high school pastor, now as a pastor, to get people to hang out with people who are different than them. It's so hard. Why? Because we're Americans. Convenience is number one. You know it as well as I do. It's the same for me. I hate it. But I'm actually growing to like it. I'm growing to like when I reach an impasse with somebody, there's a conversation to be had. Let me say it like this. When you reach an impasse with somebody, there's tension there, right? Now, if you just take the concept of tension and put it on a guitar, what is it? It's a note. It's potential. It's a string that's tensioned between two strong points. And what can happen in that moment of tension is something beautiful if you let it happen, but people don't stay long enough, do they? Is there ease to my experience here is a lot of what I think common churchgoers say. Is this easy? There's a sense that we as a church host people, and we should do that. We should be really good at that. But we also have to ask, how far will we go? What does it mean to host? Does it mean to be generous and attentive? Or does it mean to remove all difficulties completely? I'd hold it's definitely not the latter. So here's the deal. Apple realized that people hated getting things in their new package that wasn't charged. People wanted to jump right into their iPhone, right? So you'll notice that when you get an Apple product, it's charged, it's ready to go. And for them, that's called a cognitive speed bump. They're trying to remove all cognitive speed bumps for people to be able to enjoy their product. Should the church be the same? I'm just going to point to the leader. Jesus did the complete opposite. He made it hard. He spoke in parables. He said to somebody who liked his comfort, come follow me. Oh, and by the way, I have nowhere to sleep. I'm sorry. I'm just not sure we're supposed to make it. You guys want to come chill with us? Yes, you do. There's coffee and donuts over there, too, if you guys want to help. Yeah, no, go for it. So Should we make it easy? I'm not sure. I think we should make it good. I think we should be awesome hosts and we should be there for each other. But what God's ultimately leading you and I into is not going to be easy. And you know that because nothing good on earth is easy. Children are not easy, sorry. You know that. That good work is never easy, but it's good. Another question people ask when they go to church, do I like the message and the music? It's not a horrible question, but this has become the sum total of a person's experience and therefore the controlling factor on whether they stay or go. Should it? It seems to me that there's a bigger cup than that, and it's community. I think you should go, and here, I'm about to ask you to have a sense that you didn't know you had. I think you should attend a church where you sense God would have you attend church. I know you're like, okay, what apparatus in the human body is that? I don't know. Just discern it. The more can be said on that, and I'm sorry to leave you hanging on that, but I have no more time to speak on that. What if all this points to is a fresh goal beyond buzz and butts and seats, rather the goal of comprehensive reconciliation? See, I know something. When we were coming out of COVID and I was having to think about what we were going to do as a church, I was going back to all my old playbook. Because I worked in a church for 17 years, and before that, another church for 2.5 years. I know the church playbook. I know how to get people I know how to get butts in seats. But I started going through the playbook, and I'm like, well, I know what's going to happen there. I'm going to call that person. I'm going to ask them to do that, and then they're going to have to do that, and I'm going to have to convince them that they should do that every week for such and such, and then they're going to have to recruit, and then they're going to become a leader, and it's going to become like a leadership dance, and that's not altogether bad, but I know what happens. Usually it results in some sort of burnout, and the burnout results in this question, why am I doing this? And the why am I doing this results in this spinning out of control of like, what is the purpose of all of this? And instead, I felt compelled by, why don't we just let something real grow up? Something self-authenticating. And so we've been fairly hands-off. Like, we're not doing a lot of advertising. I mean, we'll let you guys know the night before on Instagram. I'll send a text to certain people. But you know how this thing grows? Relationships. This thing gets really good when your reconciliation with God unlocks your life such that you become an open harbor to the people in your lives who are experiencing storm after storm after storm. A safe harbor. So it takes time. I want to also ask this question. If you're in a long, hard, but good work, you have to ask yourself this question because this is a pain. You'll feel it acutely. Is it new? Is what you're doing new? Because if it's new, 15% of the population is going to get it. 85% of the population is not. Studies show that 70% of the population is middle adopters. That means they come along on a product about midway. They're not early adopters. They're not lined up at the Apple store the day it's released. 15% of that 85% is late adopters. That means they don't do anything until everybody's already done it and it's tried and true. I'll tell you, Jesus said it like this, Mark 2:22. No one pours new wine into old wineskins. No one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins. What's the point? New gets new vessels. Something new has to have a new kind of vessel. This right here is a vessel. You're saying, what's new about it? Well, a lot of it is old, but we're doing it in a new kind of way. I hope you notice that we're trying very hard not to be a performance. That at the very core of what we're trying to do right here is connect. And there's other new aspects, and I'll get into those. Let me just say this. A new work always needs new vessels. It needs new kinds of people. You're a vessel. You're holding lots of, 80% of you is water. You're a cup. You're a vessel. And I've noticed that there's certain kind of people who get what Second Sunday is trying to do, and there's certain people who don't. And that's okay. It's not a better or worse. It's just there's 15 percenters, right? The early adopters who kind of get it, and they lean in early on. Bonnie and John, you guys are one of those people early on. And so I'm so thankful for those types of people. But it also needs new kinds of buildings. I think what we did at J Street Commons was new, and we're going to do it again, Lord willing. It wasn't a church building. It was a coffee shop that was actually rated amongst the highest, amongst the best in San Diego. It actually got written up in a magazine. Yay, Justin. We were partnering with artisans in East Village. Bradley Mountain was selling their bags in there. We were having regular, fashion shows. We were having weddings. We were meeting so many people. We had New School of Architecture and Design in there all the time. It was a catch-all for relationship. It was a new kind of building. And we also need new kinds of KPIs. What's that? It's a key performance indicator. If you're doing a long, difficult, but good work that's new, you have to give yourself new performance indicators. So, for instance, I do not have butts and seats as a performance indicator. I do have how many people are reconciling to themselves, and there's all kinds of ways that looks like. So, for instance, Jeffrey, right? I talked about Jeffrey, Studio 710. I was volunteering in the bakery, because he started a bakery. Of course he did. And I'm literally just folding boxes, helping them get them set up to put croissants in them. And Jeffrey comes in, and I can tell he's stressed out. And homeboy just says, I'm having a hard time. Thanks for hanging out, you guys. And literally, in that moment, he kind of just buckles a little bit and says, I need to know what I'm doing wrong here. And he shared some things that were really cool. And he was just a normal leader. Every leader comes to that question. And it was a moment of reconciliation between him and I in a significant way. Those are the sorts of things that if I was you and you're part of this, ask yourself, am I having more and more of those? That's a great key performance indicator. Last question, and this comes from a friend of mine. If you're doing a long, difficult, but good work, are you willing to die and resurrect? By die and resurrect, I mean this. Everything that I've done with regards to this thing that has birthed life has been a sort of dying to self and then resurrecting in the love of God of that moment. So, for instance, when I come down here and I die to myself, I set up this stuff and I work and I think to myself, man, I wish it wasn't this hard, but there's a difficulty in it that feels a little bit like I should be doing something more important. There's a death. And then in that moment, I sense that Jesus took off his outer garment and washed his disciples' feet. In a sense, Jesus humiliated himself in order to make space in love. That's the resurrection. That if God rolls like that, then I get to. I don't have to. I get to do that. Do you see? Death and resurrection is how God builds stuff. As a leader, as a parent, die and resurrect every day. Die to the power of you and resurrect to the power of God. Die to the identity you're trying to build of you, and resurrect to the identity God speaks into you and over you. And I'll just give you a quick precursor to that. He digs you so much. God digs you so much. Why don't you come up, Mad? So we're just going to play like 2 songs, and we're going to just bathe in that reality. And I love, are you doing the new one first? I love this tune. I hope it speaks to you. God, we just want to allow you space in all of the things that we're doing that are long, good, but difficult works, to really just convince solidify, bring to a place of empowerment those long, difficult, but good works that we're in. Pray that we'd be able to relax right now and just chill in your presence. In your name.
Realizing that I've spent half of my youth running away from you. How do I memorize the promises you spoke when I was formed? You wove me. Realizing that I praise through all my darkest days, for there you wait. And waking up to melodies so sweet, I finally believe I'm free. Lord of my soul, I will love you. Jesus, my hope, found my lost heart. Realizing that my past can't measure half of what you do today. And meditating on the moments where I felt like we were face to face. Recognizing how to love an arc of pouring out my life, my pride. I look around to see the hearts obsessed in awe, in love with you, with you. Lord of my soul, I will love you. Jesus, my hope, found my lost heart. And I know I'm not perfect, but you don't ask for that. And I know faith gets taken life's not perfect, but you are good. You are good. You are good. You are good. Oh, you are good. You are good. Oh, my soul, I will love you. Jesus, my hope, found my lost heart. For you are good, you are good, oh. You are good, you are good, oh. We know that you are good, you are good, oh. You are good, you are good, oh. I could write 1,000 songs to get waste of life, but what's the value without you? And I could write 1,000 songs to captivate your heart, but more than offerings, you'll just seek the depths of me. When you see me, you see my heart through the eyes of your mercy, in the light of your sun. You love me with open arms and the pride of a father. I was once a prodigal, burdened by my shame, till you came running to remind me your love is unconditional, and in your eyes I'm worthy of forgiveness. Oh, what was lost is now redeemed. When you see me, you see my heart through the eyes of your mercy, in the light of your sun. You love me with open arms and the pride of a father. I know you love me, oh, the pride of a father in my And who am I that you love me? Who am I that you save my soul? Who am I without you, Lord? And who am I to be worthy? Who am I that you're mindful of me? Who am I that you call me yours? Oh, who am I that you love me? Who am I that you save my soul? Who am I without
So God, we just thank you that what you have put forward to us, we believe in Jesus, is this huge, beautiful statement of how much you love us. And I just pray that that would sink in, not just at a cognitive level, but Lord, a heart level. Help us to go in that knowledge. And for each long, difficult, but good work in this room, I pray for the beauty and the love and the power of God to be on that work. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks for joining us, you guys. Hope you have an incredible Sunday. And if you haven't already considered, please join us next Sunday. We'll be here on the 14th. Looking forward to seeing you. Peace.